Learning to utilize focus modes has changed the way I use my iPad. What used to be a device that would distract me at every stage has slowly turned into a machine I can trust to get meaningful work done. Creating these focus modes can seem intimidating at first, but taking some time to understand them and building one for yourself will allow you to focus on the work that matters in your life. Here's how you set up focus modes on your iPad. As you can see on my iPad, I have 4 different focus modes that I've set up that I can easily switch between two. So I have deep work, fun, YouTube test, and home. And each of these different workspaces all have a different wallpaper. So now when it comes to setting up these different focus modes, one of the first things you actually want to do is that you want to set up 4 different lock screen or home screens. The reason it's important is because if you've ever read the book Atomic Habits, one of the key ways to building a new habit is to actually have a new workspace to work in. And for myself, I've actually set it up where each workspace actually has a different wallpaper that correlates to that focus mode. For example, when I hit home, it's just a nice standard kind of chilled out vibe wallpaper. But when I hit deep work, as you can see, the wallpaper is a much more darker, moodier aesthetic. And compare that to my fun wallpaper or fun focus mode, it's a lot more bright, more vibrant. Now, if you're curious about these wallpapers that I have set up, well, they were actually made by me. They're all part of my Wavy Fun wallpaper pack that you can actually download for free on the link below that'll take you to my website so you can actually set up your focus modes to correlate with these wallpapers. Now that you've gotten your different home screens and lock screens set up, you actually want to head into the settings app of your iPad. Once you go into the settings app, you want to actually go into focus. We actually want to hit a custom focus mode. So to do that, you want to go into the top right corner and hit the plus icon, if I can tap it, but we want to hit custom. And then when you want to hit custom, you want to actually just name this to whatever focus mode you're trying to set up and whatever you're trying to vibe you're going for. So you can just go ahead and type it in. So I'm just going to type in YouTube test 4. It's not spelled correctly, but then you want to change the color. You can change the color to whatever you want, and then you can go ahead and pick the icon of what you want this focus mode to correlate to. So because it's YouTube, I'm going to look to see if there is a camera button, which I cannot find. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit this light bulb switch. Next, now you want to hit customize focus. And now this is the really cool thing about the focus modes that you can set up. So for example, let's say you're someone that is going to work and you're setting up a custom work focus mode. So when you hit that, when you hit choose people, you may only want to allow notifications from your contact list that are part of your family. Now, when it comes to apps, obviously you can choose to allow notifications from certain apps. And now we'll go to customize screens in just a second, but I wanted to just touch on set a schedule. Obviously, set a schedule is kind of just an automated way to turn on the focus mode. So for a lot of us, like I mentioned before, we may have already done this in the past with do not disturb and sleep, where it turns on automatically at a certain time. But the thing is, you can actually have this automation turn on if you actually enter a workplace. So let's say you're someone that has to go into office 5 days a week. You can have your focus mode set up and turn on as soon as you enter the workplace using your GPS or using your location services. Now, focus filters is actually really unique because when you hit focus filters, you can actually dictate how certain apps operate when you're inside a certain focus mode. So for example, with messages, you can actually filter the conversation so that they only allow conversation from certain people. So this could actually be really useful if you're a student and you're working on a group project and you're creating a specific focus mode for that group project. You may only want to allow messages whenever you open it up for that specific group that you're working with. Now, going out of focus filters and actually going to customizing the screens, this is where the real power and the real value of setting up your customizable home screens really comes into play here. Because we set up and did all that dirty work in the beginning of customizing your screens, when you hit choose and choosing a lock screen, you can now choose the different lock screens that you have created depending on the focus mode that you want to hit. So for YouTube test 4, I'm actually just going to go ahead and pick this green one over here. And then that means that anytime I hit the focus mode, this green wallpaper will choose. So I'm just going to go ahead and correlate it with one of them that relates more to deep work. So when you hit done, now you've essentially created your focus mode. The only problem is by setting it up this way, you actually have to go into the control center to turn on this specific focus mode. Now, this isn't a problem, but the thing is, it can be quite cumbersome to constantly go into the control center and hit YouTube test 4 or hit home or hit YouTube test 2. It just seems very redundant. So one of the things I would actually recommend that you do is that for each of your home pages, you actually set up this app called Shortcuts. And you would actually want to set up the Shortcuts widget. So to do that, you just want to hold on to the screen, tap the plus icon in the top left, and then you want to just go into the suggestions and you'll find the shortcuts app here. Once you scroll long enough, you'll find shortcuts. And as you can see, there's different variations of the shortcuts widget. You can only have it 2 if you only have like 2 focus modes. Most commonly, you'll have more than 2, so 4 is usually a good sweet spot. But if you're a maniac and you have like 9 of them, which, you know, I'm probably gonna get to that point eventually, you could get away with using this really big shortcuts folder, even like a ginormous one if you have tons of different shortcuts you want to set up. But for most people, the 4 should do just fine. So you want to go ahead and open the shortcuts app. And the thing is with the shortcuts app, it can look quite intimidating when you first open it, but we're just keeping it really simple for today when it comes to setting up your focus modes. So in order to do that, in order to have shortcuts correlate or work with the focus modes that you just set up in your settings app, you want to go ahead and hit the plus icon right here, add plus, and then when you come to search for apps and functions, you want to actually just type in focus, and then you want to scroll down and you want to hit set focus. So once you hit set focus, you're going to see the script that Apple has already automated whenever you hit that set focus button. So right now the script says turn do not disturb off. When you see do not disturb, you actually want to click that, and now you can actually see all those different focus modes that you set up in the setting apps will now appear on here. So since we set up YouTube test 4, I'm going to actually hit that, and I'm going to have to turn YouTube test 4 on until turned off. And essentially what you're saying with this script is that you are telling the shortcuts app to leave this turned on until I manually turn it off by either switching it off or switching to a different shortcuts button. So now that you've set the script up, that's literally all you have to do. Now you can go ahead and rename the shortcut to YouTube test 4 to correspond with the, if I can type, with the focus mode that you had set up. And then you can go ahead and change the icon as well to whatever you want to. So you can have it correlate exactly to what you want, or it can be a little bit different. So for this one, I am actually seeing if I can find, that looks like a hard drive. I'll just do that. That looks like a hard drive. So we'll do that. So now you want to go ahead and set up those shortcuts, follow the same exact process for setting up all the different focus modes that you've set up. So you just hit plus icon, go to set focus, turn it on. And now the really key thing here is that what you'll notice is that for all my different pages, I actually have a home screen button. And now you're probably wondering, what does that home screen button do? Well, that home screen button basically serves as a catch-all in a default workspace that you can return to whenever you exit these different focus modes. So in order to set that up, it's actually really simple. You follow the same script as you did before. For the home focus button is that instead of having turn home off, you'll actually want to just go ahead and hit turn work off, turn for all the different focus modes. So you'll hit turn work off, you will go back into focus, set focus, turn sleep off. And you'll basically do that for all the different focus modes you have set up. And so what you're basically doing is that you're telling the shortcuts that whenever you hit the home focus button, you are now telling the iPad to run the script that whenever you hit home, you go ahead and turn off all the different focus modes that you've set up. And then you can even take it up a notch and make it even more pro by going into switch between wallpapers, switch to wallpaper, and then go ahead and switch the wallpaper to the home shortcut button to whatever you want your home default workspace to be. So once you do that, now every time you hit home, it'll turn off all your different focus modes and you'll jump right into the new focus modes that you've set up. Now that you've set up all your different home screens and lock screens, and you've set up the shortcuts app to function with the focus modes you set up in the settings button, you now have a fully fledged system of just being able to switch through your focus modes with the tap of the button. Now that you've set all this up, probably the biggest question in your mind is, why is setting focus modes so helpful when it comes to using an iPad or an iPhone or even a Mac? Well, for me, I find that when it comes to devices like the iPad or an iPhone, it can be quite distracting to have your productivity apps mixed in with your entertainment apps. So by having these different focus modes, you're actually splitting up your device into work and play. And I find that it's really helpful for me to just get locked into the work. It's just a really convenient feeling knowing that I can walk into a coffee shop, take out my iPad, hit deep work, and just boom, automatically be locked into work and not have to fiddle around with any apps or turning off notifications or anything like that. Just knowing that everything functions the way I want it to with the simple tap of the button really makes using the iPad so much more convenient. And by setting up your iPad this way, you're creating less friction between the work you want to create and the distractions on your iPad. I hope you found this video helpful. With love and respect, Yash.